Get ready for a great game of chess. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This is a book move. The opening is called King's Pawn Game.
This is a book move. The opening is called King's Pawn Game.
Knight to f3 is the best move.
Developing the knight to a strong central square, supporting the pawn on pawn to e5 and preparing to control the pawn to d5 square, while also eyeing the bishop on c4.
This is a book move. The opening is called the Italian game.
Developing the knight to a strong central square, preparing to control the pawn to d5 square and potentially attacking the bishop on c4, while also supporting the pawn on f5.
This is a book move. The opening is called the Italian game 2 knights defense, knight attack.
Pawn to d5 is the best move.
Pawn captures on d5 is best. This is a trade. This attacks the knight.
This is the book move. The opening is called Italian game 2 knights defense, Polerio Defense.
Bishop to b5 check pins the knight on c6, forcing Malik to respond to the check while preparing to develop the rest of the pieces and control the center.
Pawn to c6 is excellent. This offers a trade. This creates a fork on bishop and pawn. This blocks a check to the king with a piece. This move gains a tempo. Bishop to d7 is best. This offers a trade. This attacks the bishop. This blocks a check to the king with a piece. This develops a bishop. This move gains a tempo.
Pawn captures on c6 is the best move.
I played pawn captures on c6 to challenge black's control of the pawn to d5 square and prepare to develop the rest of my pieces. This move also pins black's knight on c6, putting pressure on their pawn structure.
Bishop to d3 is the best move.
Knight to d5 is the best move.
Knight to e4 is excellent. Knight to h3 is best.
Pawn to f5 is best. This attacks the knight. This move gains a tempo.
Bishop to e2 is a solid move, supporting the central pawn and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also slightly weakens the king's side, but this is a minor trade-off for the benefit of controlling the center.
Pawn to h5.
Pawn to h3.
Pawn catches on e4.
Pawn captures on d4.
Bishop to c5 is the best move.
I played pawn to b4 to challenge black's pawn structure and create space for my pieces to develop. The move also pins black's knight on c6, making it difficult for them to attack my position.
Kingside castle is excellent. Queen to d4 is best. This defends a pawn, bishop, and pawn on f4, c5, and f5. This creates a fork on rook and pawn. This creates a checkmate threat.
Pawn captures on c5.
Queen to d4 is the best move.
Kingside castle is best.
Queen captures on and1.
Developing the knight to a strong central square, supporting the pawn on pawn to e4 and preparing to control the pawn to d5 square, while also eyeing the black knight on pawn to c6 and potentially creating a pin on the black bishop on c4.
Pawn to e3 is best. This offers a trade.
Pawn captures on h5 is best.
I played x4 plus to put pressure on black's position and create a potential pin on the knight, forcing them to respond to the check while also opening up the f-file for my rook to potentially use later.
Rook captures on f2 is the best move.
Rook captures on f2 is best. This is a trade.
King captures on f2.
Bishop to e6.
I played bishop to f3 to pin the knight on b5, preparing to develop the bishop and putting pressure on black's position. This move also supports the central pawn structure and prepares to potentially launch a pawn storm on the queen side.
Rook to f8 check is best. This develops a rook. By placing the rook on an open file, it controls important columns.
King to e1.
Queen captures on d1 check is the best move.
Bishop captures on d1 is the best move.
Rook to f4 is excellent. Pawn to e4 is best. This offers a trade.
Pawn to d3 is best.
I played rook to h4 to attack black's pawn on pawn to e5 and prepared to potentially create a passed pawn on the king's side. This move also puts pressure on black's position and forces them to respond to the threat.
Bishop to f3.
Bishop to d7 is good. Rook to d4 is best.
Knight to e4.
Bishop to f5.
King to f2 is excellent. Knight to d6 is best. This attacks the bishop.
Bishop to e6 is the best move.
King to e3.
I played bishop captures on an e4 to challenge black's pawn structure and create a potential weakness on the king's side. The bishop on pawn to c4 is well supported, and the knight on pawn to f3 is eyeing the king's side. This move also opens up the d-file for my rook to potentially use later.
I played bishop captures on e4 to challenge black's pawn structure and create a potential weakness on the king's side. The bishop on pawn to c4 is pinning black's knight on c6, making it difficult for them to defend against the potential fork on the king side.
Knight to d8 is best. This defends a pawn on c6.
Bishop to b2 is good. This attacks the pawn. Bishop to f3 is best. This defends a pawn on h5.
Rook captures on h5 is best. This defends a pawn on f5. This captures a free pawn.
Bishop to f3 is best. This attacks the rook.
Rook to g5 is best.
King to e4 is best.
Knight to e6 is excellent. This defends a rook on g5. This attacks the pawn. Knight to f7 is best. This defends a rook on g5.
Bishop captures on e5 is best.
Knight captures on c5 check is best. This captures a free pawn.
King to f4 is a strong move, attacking black's pawn on pawn to e5 and preparing to develop the rest of the pieces. It also puts pressure on black's position, forcing them to respond to the potential threat of the bishop on c4.
Knight to e6 check.
King to e4.
Knight to c5 check is excellent. Knight to f8 is best.
King to f4 is best. This attacks the rook.
I played knight to e6 check to put pressure on black's position and create a potential fork on the king side, forcing them to choose between defending the pawn or the king. This move also aims to challenge black's bishop on pawn to c5 and prepare for a potential pawn storm on the king side. The game is over. It ended in a draw.